So Thomas needs to come over.
Thomas.
Yeah. So moving down.
How come nothing's popping up? Oh, now he's gone. Nothing's coming up, like,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more.
Well, if we count Bob and Mark, we have 7 out of 12.
Hi, Tom.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, did I click the wrong link to join the meeting?
No harm. We promoted you. Yes.
Sorry about that.
It's nice to be able to promote someone immediately. All right, let me get started. I would like to inform everyone today that the Steamship Authority is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. And if there is anyone in the audience making a recording of today's meeting, if so, please identify yourself by pressing *9 on your keypad or raising your hand icon. And when you're recognized, please state your name for the record. No one has. So
You can say, Steve.
Yeah.
Steve Beatty is here for MVTV.
All right, and so Steve Beatty of MVTV is also making a recording of today's meeting. In accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, all task force members are participating remotely in today's meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app, and all members will be clearly audible to each other. Also pursuant to that statute, the Steamship Authority has ensured public access to the deliberations of the task force today for interested members of the public via Zoom. And a link to access this meeting via Zoom has been provided in the meeting notice for today's meeting. So we have 5 of the voting members of the task force here today. We need 6 for a quorum. Keith Chattonover and Julian Suso and Jack Law has said they were unable to make it, and Michael Santoro is ill, he informed me. So in this circumstance, the Attorney General's office has said to be careful in proceeding with deliberations that could then be related to the quorum of the public body. So my suggestion today is for me to give a report on the status of the RFP. And if any individual task force members have questions, they can ask me directly afterwards, but without deliberating among themselves. And of course, we can have any members of the audience ask questions, and I can answer those questions for them. I'm sorry for that, but I think that might be the best way forward in this circumstance. It also means it'll go more quickly. Yes, John.
Does that mean we cannot discuss this today?
It's a questionable issue. We can discuss it because we are not a quorum, and therefore we would not be in violation of the open meeting law. But then if we then communicate these discussions with other members of the task force, with your discussions with other members of the task force, that could be construed as a serial conversation violating the open meeting law.
So we could say to them, watch the video.
Yes. Well,
It's up to you. This is your meeting, though.
I know this is tricky. I've survived this minefield of the open meeting law for 30 years, and I don't want to get tripped up coming across the goal line at this age of my life.
Right.
Can we ask a question for clarification, Steve? I guess
Sure.
that's more of a
Yes.
thing. I'm not necessarily to deliberate and discuss it, but if there's a question we might have about something you've said, can we say, what does that mean, and what he's saying? Is that deliberation?
That is liberation.
So today will be an update, and that's it.
It'll be an update for the public. It's public knowledge. It'll be posted, and if you have any individual questions or suggestions, please let me know directly afterwards. But I will take questions from the audience because that's not deliberation. And I apologize for this.
One last question, I promise there's only one more, is where will this video be available to others?
We haven't thought of that because that is something that's just come up. So I'll discuss that with Bob, David,
Okay.
and Sean Driscoll.
Okay.
Okay.
Steve, I have a question. So being relatively new to the task force, is there an amount of time that we have to wait in between meetings? If we don't have a quorum today, understanding that this is something that is trying to move forward, do we have to wait a certain amount of time before we can reconvene as this group to have the discussion that we intended to have today?
No, we can schedule another meeting, and I would leave that to Bob to schedule. That would probably be without me if it's within the next week or two, because I will be away.
It would require 48 hours of notice.
Correct. It would require 48 hours notice, or yes, not including weekends and holidays. And but they could have this report that I would give today. Everyone would have the report available to them for that meeting, if that were the case. That's a great suggestion, and we'll leave that to Bob. So we will forego the minutes of the approval of the minutes of the February 22nd meeting. And I would like to report that the request for proposals for a freight transportation service for the Island of Martha's Vineyard was issued, I believe, on March 18th, after having been approved by the Steamship Authority's board. It incorporated a number of suggestions made by the task force at their meeting on February 22nd, and more suggestions that were made by the Port Council at their meeting in March, and some more at the board meeting. Peggy Nickerson, I see, is here today to give a report on how that RFP has been advertised and issued and what response we're getting to date. And so Peggy, welcome.
Hi, thank you, Steve. I'm Peggy Nickerson. I'm the procurement officer for the Steamship Authority. Starting on Monday, March 21st, I did send out via email, and I left some phone calls to people that were interested in this RFP many years ago. That was approximately 12 people that was sent to. At the same time, I also advertised in local newspapers and publications such as Marine Link, Boats and Harbors, Maritime Reporter, and Marine Law.
Can someone, can I hold you? Could you get closer to a microphone so we can hear you better?
Yeah, there's a lot of echo.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Thank you.
There we go.
Is that better?
Much.
Okay, sorry about that. Do you want me to start?
Please do.
So I started on March 21st. I did place in local newspapers, Cape Cod Times, the New Bedford Standard Times, that I am required to do. We also went out to many publications such as Marine Link, Boats and Harbors, Maritime Reporter, and Marine Law. Marine Log also helped out in publishing what they call an email blast. And that email blast went out on Wednesday, April 6th, at about 10 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, to 20,000 subscribers. Most of these subscribers not only subscribe to their publication, but to many of the other marine publications. Within minutes of that email blast going out, I had at least a half a dozen companies ask for the RFP. I do not send out the RFP until someone actually formally asks for it. I only send out the RFP notice, which tells them where they are able to obtain the RFP. So prior to the email blast, I had 11 companies that actually called and requested or emailed and requested the RFP. And since the email blast, I have had 20 companies. So about a total of 31 companies that requested the RFP. These companies come from San Francisco, Texas, New York, Turkey, Netherlands. So that email blast, which will also go out again tomorrow, has certainly made its rounds, and I believe we have a lot of interest out there from many different types of companies.
Great, thank you, Peggy. And have there been any local companies that have taken out the RFP?
Yes, I can read off the 20 that have contacted me since. I can just read their names and where they're from since the email went out, the email blast.
Okay,
So First Harvest Navigation from Norwalk, Connecticut. Elcon, which is
I'm sorry,
from
what was the one from Norwalk, Connecticut? Harvest?
First Harvest Navigation.
Thank you.
Then Elcon, which is from Istanbul, Turkey. An attorney from Louisiana. A company, Tactical Shipping from Greenwich, Connecticut. Gemini Shippers from New York, New York. May Ship Repair from Staten Island, New York. Rose K Maritime from Houston, Texas. Stastinos Marine from Weymouth, Mass. The University of Michigan asked for it. Keystone Shipping from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Boundary Technologies from San Francisco. Staten Island Ferry from New York. Can Ford Ferries from St. John, is that Netherlands? Newfoundland, sorry. Mill Creek, Washington, a company that used to do business as Ocean Smith Services. Bain Johnston Center from, again, Newfoundland, St. John's, Newfoundland. Gulf of Oceanic Marine Contractors from Morgan City, Louisiana. Castor Group from Greenwich, Connecticut. Smith Marine, Marblehead, Mass. Tisbury Towing from Martha's Vineyard. Marine Systems Corp. from Boston. Mohawk Northeast from Plantsville, Connecticut. Hornblower from San Francisco. New Bedford Port Authority. Via Transportation from New York City. Robert Hour from Howard, Mass. 41 Degrees North Offshore from New Bedford. Trailer Bridge from Jacksonville, Florida. Flagship Management from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mercedes Cab Company from P-Town, Mass. And Nova Tech from Quebec, Canada. Those are the companies that asked for it after the email blast went out. And prior to the email blast, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. So I think they were all listed, so I read them as well.
Okay.
Robert Hour, Flagship, and I read the ones that were prior to the email blast as well.
great. Thank you, Peggy. We have, if you could stick around in case someone from the audience has a question for you.
So, one other thing, Steve, on this, so in addition, as Peggy pointed out, that those marine publications that the ad was posted in, so that ad is being posted in their April and May publications.
Okay. And I would like to point out that the deadline for the submission of proposals is now set for August 2nd of this year. It can also be delayed if we get some issues that arise between now and then. But there was plenty of time for all of these firms in order to review the RFP, look at the situation, do their investigation, and submit their proposals, which is good. We had a conversation. I had a conversation last week with the New Bedford Port Authority, Justin Paulson, who's the executive director who spoke with us last November, John Reagan, who's their director of policy and external affairs, and Blair Bailey, their general counsel. As you may have heard, Justin Polson is leaving the New Bedford Port Authority, I believe, as of the end of this week. We had a discussion about the North Terminal 2 project. When he participated in our meeting in November, Justin mentioned that they were going to go forward with an invitation for bids to construct some work at the North Terminal 2 project to fill in about less than an acre, almost an acre of land, and to put a bulkhead, 100 feet of bulkhead around that area. And then also to put a request for interest to find an operator for the site. That invitation for bids and the request for interest have not yet been issued by the New Bedford Port Authority. They have been focused on a priority of getting the other site filled. They awarded a contract for the other site last month. But it is still their plans to issue that invitation for bids, do that work, and also to issue a request for interest in the North Terminal 2 project. It appears that until they issue that RFI and get and select an operator for that site, that site will not be available for respondents to identify as a potential mainland terminal facility, because they would not be able to secure the necessary permits until they know actually who's going to be operating that site. That situation may change within the next few months and before the deadline for the submission of proposals. So we're keeping an eye on that and trying to determine if and when we should issue an addendum to the RFP advising people of any progress in the status of that location. And we're hopeful that there will be progress. During that conversation, Justin also, they had received a copy of the RFP and they had some suggestions for some additional evaluation criteria, which I think are well taken. They were concerned that the RFP seems to reflect a goal of simply displacing a truck traffic problem from Woods Hole to an off-Cape port, which would probably be New Bedford. And they believe that when we evaluate the proposals, we should also evaluate the potential impacts and benefits that the project will have to whatever the new off-Cape port is, and whether it be New Bedford. And he's correct that our RFP evaluation criteria do not include those issues. And these would include local job creation at the port, how many local jobs will be created and what quality of jobs will be created there. Also, whether the private operator will commit to any vendor sourcing from local businesses, and in particular minority-owned business enterprises and women-owned business enterprises, and make certain that they have an opportunity to participate in the service, which would be a local benefit for any port that has this service. And then also some of the impacts would be the increased truck traffic in the area. And so whether the private operator would have any mitigation plans for that truck traffic, including monitoring, things along that nature. And also any mitigation plans for the noise and emissions that would result from the project, particularly since one of the targeted cargoes is hazardous material. I think all of those are well taken. I think they should be included in our evaluation criteria, and that was my omission. And so over the course of the next few weeks, we have plenty of time. I will be drafting an addendum to the RFP, assuming that the board, which meets next week, Bob will be reporting to the board about that. And if they don't have a problem with us issuing the addendum, we will be issuing the addendum within the next few weeks with those additional evaluation criteria. Finally, Justin mentioned the larger goal of reducing the overall amount of travel by trucks on the road. And that would be ideal to operate a service which results in the lowest net miles traveled by trucks who are taking the service. But I will give that more thought over the next week or two, but we agreed it would be difficult to conduct that evaluation without knowing who the customers are of the new service, because it's their point of origin that has to be taken into account. And until we get some type of commitment from customers, that cannot be ascertained. We do believe, however, that there are many freight shippers from the New Bedford area, Providence area, that whole South Coast. And that would be somewhat substantially accomplish that goal, even without having to be a formal evaluation criteria. So that is my report so far. It covers the thing on the agenda about how the opportunity to use the North Terminal 2 site should be described in the RFP, and also possible and anticipated subjects for addenda to the RFP. I think we're moving forward. We're looking forward to getting questions from prospective proponents when they review the RFP, and we will be discussing all of that with them. I think you notice that in the RFP notice and in the RFP itself, as a result of Rob Munier's suggestion, we asked proponents to let us know if they felt that it did not call for a particular type of operation that they thought would work for the vineyard. And if they thought another type of operation would work for the vineyard, to let us know, and that we would amend the RFP accordingly in order to take those into account as well. And also, if they thought that the evaluation criteria would not fairly evaluate their proposals, we asked them to let us know as well, so that we could make the appropriate adjustments if those are necessary. So we're looking forward to getting those. Last time we talked, I said the touchstone word in this process is flexibility. And I think we are being flexible, and hopefully we're going to get some good proposals. The other aspect is, you may have heard that there is now a request to provide barge service between New Bedford and Nantucket this summer because of the reservation snafu of an unnamed customer, except everyone has seen the name. But
And the brown trucks
pardon?
and the brown trucks.
Yes, and the brown trucks. And ironically, that may test out a potential barge service to Nantucket, and it's a shorter distance to Martha's Vineyard. So that is, although unfortunate for other circumstances, it may be fortuitous for this RFP. And I noticed when Peggy read the list of vendors or potential proponents that they included 2 tug and barge operations in New Bedford. So we're cautiously optimistic about the whole prospect. And since Mark and Bob can probably also talk, I can ask them if they want to add anything. And otherwise, we can ask the attendees here today whether they have any questions that they would like to ask. John, you're a participant, you're a panelist.
I know, but could I ask Bob a question? No.
It's iffy. It's
Okay, then we won't.
It's
The
iffy.
open meeting law is kind of crazy, but it's true.
I know, it just, who was it? Oliver Wendell Holmes said the order of law is not logic, it's experience or something. This isn't logical, but I think my job is to keep all of us out of trouble. So that's what I'm trying to do here.
That's what I appreciate. So,
Okay. So I will now open it up for public comment. I see we have 6 attendees, and I would ask them to raise their hand if from Nat Trumbull, do we have in the chat? Will the formal notice for the RFP be made available on the SSA website? I think it may be, but I'll leave that up to Peggy. We do put our procurement.
Steve, if I may, so it would be listed, customarily we list those, but in order to receive a package, because if we have to issue any addendum, we don't make that package available for download on the website. You'd have to request a copy of the package.
No, but I think Nat is asking about the notice, just the notice.
No,
Steve, this is Sean. I just checked. It's under about and doing business with us. That's where the procurement items are listed, but I am looking at it right now. It's there.
Okay, so it is on the website under doing business with us.
Correct.
And Nat is suggesting we also put in the news section, which I don't see why not. Why don't we put in the news section?
Yeah, I can take care of that.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Does anyone else have, any of the attendees have any questions? You can use the chat as Nat has done, or you can raise your hand and I can ask, permit you to talk. No one has?
No one's not seeing any.
Not seen any. So I'm sorry again for this project. Bob will get back in touch with you with rescheduling a new meeting. I hope this was at least informative and at least somewhat positive in where we stand with this RFP. And in record time, it's less than a half hour. So, and I think we did everything legally, which is also a plus.
And I'm off to town meeting.
Okay. All right.
You don't even have to have a vote to adjourn.
You can't even vote to adjourn. You don't have a quorum to vote to adjourn.
We're out of here.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Meeting, I-